It up, my selector.
Due to some violent content, parental discretion is advised.
I know you gonna dig this.
Yeah. 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 Chrome hearts at the Caesar's Palace. I was a sneaker savage, undefeated baggage. K-bar, you could be established. A 230.
And it's Monday. It's a little after 6 p.m. So that means one thing and one thing only. You got to be tuning in to Mano a Mano live with my brethren, K.O. Kenny, the real K.O. Kenny. What's good, fam?
Can't complain, you know, coming live from New York. We ready with the good energy and the good factual smack. Let's get it.
100%, Kenny. So, we didn't spend too much time talking about stuff before the show today. Oftentimes we do get to chat a little bit before the show. We didn't do that today. So I'm going to start off, Kenny. I'm going to let you lead the way and tell me, when it comes to this past weekend, which fight were you looking forward to the most? And then we'll get right into talking about that fight. Go for it.
Well, the fight I was looking forward to the most was actually Benavidez and Lemieux, but it turned out being another fight that was fireworks. There was another fight that was just popping. It was just great. It was amazing. Lots of action, unexpected things. But let's go into Lemieux and before we go into Buatsi.
Looking forward to the most. So we had David Lemieux out of Montreal, Quebec. All right, raised up by the legendary, at least in my eyes, Mr. Russ Amber, okay? Achieved a great level of success as a middleweight. Kenny, you saw him live with me. We saw him literally put to sleep Curtis Stevens right in front of our very eyes. Tremendous power puncher. But going into this fight, Kenny, I always felt that an undersized middleweight was going to be way too small for a very big super middleweight in David Benavidez Jr. Tell me about your thoughts of the fight going into the fight, and we'll talk about what actually happened in the ring. Go for it.
Sounds good. Look, going into the fight, I thought that I definitely thought David Benavidez was going to win this fight pretty much at any point that he wanted to, but I didn't think he was going to win the fight so early and so easily. I thought that Lemieux was going to come in and land a couple good power shots, which he did. I thought he would buzz Benavidez, though, which he did not. Because, he did buzz. He's buzzed almost every one of his last opponents. And David Benavidez got buzzed last time by Karan Davis or whatever his name is. So
Karan Davis. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So he got buzzed in that fight. I expected Lemieux to come and buzz him in this fight. And Lemieux didn't buzz him. He tried very hard. He did land some good punches, but his chin just was not there. His chin was not there. But yeah, go ahead, man. Let's talk about how it went down, bro.
Well, I mean, look, first of all, I give David Benavidez props for taking the fight and stepping up and trying to win that WBC 168-pound interim title. But he was definitely overmatched. Okay, I spoke face to face with Russ Amber at Madison Square Garden. The videos up on this channel if anyone wants to have a look. And he said, look, he was honest about it. Russ Amber obviously being, again, the legendary corner man out of Montreal that raised up pretty much David Lemieux in the sport of boxing. He was clear it was going to be a difficult fight. And I think it was always going to be kind of that puncher's chance fight, which literally means the guy doesn't really have a shot. Very short arms, very short reach, was always going to be difficult to get inside on David Benavidez. But the difficulty for him fighting a David Benavidez is that David Benavidez is a tall guy, but he does not mind banging and mixing it up on the inside. And if you can't beat a guy from the outside and then he's able to bully you on the inside because he's taller and he's also a great inside fighter, I mean, the dude literally had no shot. What I do want to give him tremendous credit for is the combative spirit and the tenacity and the willingness not to just lay down, but to give it everything he had in the ring. David Lemieux left everything he had in the ring Saturday night. There wasn't anything more he could have done, but he just was overpowered and literally bullied by David Benavidez. That's how I look at it. And David Benavidez now, in many people's eyes, is the number one, if not the number two guy at 168 pounds. You still have a lot of people, Kenny, that think that David Benavidez was looking for Canelo when Canelo left the division to avoid David Benavidez. I'm not necessarily one of those people. I think Canelo's still number one in the division. And believe it or not, because it's the eye test, my eye test, because let's face facts, David Benavidez has beat who's in front of him. That's not his fault. All right. But a David Lemieux, a Davis, that caliber of opponent, to me, does not necessarily establish you as number one at 168. And if I'm going eye test for eye test, my number two, and this is just my humble opinion, again, it's the eye test, ladies and gentlemen. My number two in the division behind Canelo, who off accomplishment to me is the clear number one. My number two is David Morrell Jr. Ding that bell, baby. Ding that bell. David, let me do that again. Let me do that again real quick. My number one is Canelo Alvarez, all right? Cinnamon Kid, all right? My number two is, listen, wait for it. David Morrell Jr. Ding that bell, Kenny. Put some respect on his name, god damn it.
Yo, look, I knew that was coming. Everybody was expecting David Benavidez, but no, you threw him off with the Morrell. But no, look, Morrell's great. He's looking great. He's taking challenges very early in his career. He's looking very promising. But you know, I'm gonna go back to the stats. I'm gonna go back to the books, and going back to the books, that puts for me David Benavidez at a number two. And Morrell, you know, I guess at a three off because what he's doing, man, what he's doing is incredible. And the way he goes in that ring and the way he dominates his opponent, he's looking really, really good out there. So can't take anything away from it. It's just David Benavidez has more accomplishments. He's seems like he is the bigger guy. And he's fought better opposition because he's fought more of them altogether. I think he's fought the better opposition than David Morrell. But David Morrell is gonna be there very, very soon. What do you think about that smack talk though? David Morrell Jr. was like that he's gonna knock him out or something like that. I forgot the exact words.
I got two words for you, actually three. La Escuela Cubana. Ding that bell, man. Come on, you gotta ding the bell for La Escuela Cubana. Come on, dog. No, but honestly, you could go either way at number two. But what I do think we both agree on is that Canelo is clearly still the number one, unless you're going to disagree with that, Kenny. You're free to disagree with it. But to me, Canelo is still clearly the number one guy at 168. All right. I see Arya and Yuda saying, what, Maestro no Berlanga? Rican's going to be mad. Well, you know, I think the Puerto Ricans, at least the ones that I was talking to at the Garden, are clear enough that he was actually, you know, a little bit underwhelming in his last performance against a guy who everybody thought he would beat. So
last couple performances, against Coceres too.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, it is what it is. But I want to shout out everybody that's here. Team Batman is here. Bruce Kai is here. Boxing Redemptions. Greetings from New Zealand. Thank you for staying with us. All right. We got Bruce Kai and Jay Lanks. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And of course, our Aryan Sarayuda and Supreme Tax. All right. Get that tax money. I know. Do you like paying taxes, Kenny? You like tax?
No, man.
All right. So, okay.
I like taxing people though.
We've talked about that one. Any last words on that?
Yes. That fight does not make Benavidez the number one guy in that division, in that weight class. Oscar De La Hoya needs to stop. He needs to chill out with all the smack he's talking. And everybody else who just hopped on the Benavidez train right now after this win, they all need to chill out. They all need to chill out. This was a fight that we all knew Benavidez was going to win before it happened. It's just that Lemieux is a hard-punching guy. He's a challenge for anybody. We expected it to be more of a challenge than it was, and it wasn't. That doesn't make Benavidez number one guy. It is what it is, but the guy is great, and he looks promising. and he will give Canelo a challenge. That does not mean that he beats Canelo, that he is better than Canelo, just because he's as big as Bivol. It is what it is. We shall see at the 168-pound division. And those are my final words for Benavidez Lemieux. Here we go.
There you go. And I'm back. All right. What I will say is I'm going to throw the floor over to Chauncey Pearls over here. Chauncey, big supporter of the channel. Appreciate you, my brother. We'll give you the final word on the Benavidez Lemieux fight, right? Chauncey says, about to get renamed for this comment, but is what it is. Lemieux was a walking piñata. I'm not buying this Mexican monster narrative until Benavidez fights someone relevant. Any response there? We'll do a first. Kenny reacts to that comment. Kenny, let's go.
Nah, I agree with him. But I do like the Mexican monster name. He should keep that. He should own that. Instead of El Bandera Roja, he should change his nickname to the Mexican Monster. Like D-Style said in Mike Tyson's voice.
Well, there you go. Now I'm guessing the second fight you were looking forward to, and shout out to Tony, because Tony, you know, behind the scenes, I text with Tony every now and again. I see Tony in the chat real there. Tony was big on a guy out of Essex named Danny Dignum. I never really heard of this guy, but Tony was blowing up my text. Yo, Maestro, you got to check out Dignum. You know, I think Dignum's going to upset the Apple card in Vegas. You know, Dignum, he's going to take out Janibek. You know, I got to support my local, you know, Southern England guy, Danny Dignum. Actually, no, Chauncey, sorry. Tony didn't say any of that. I'm just making it up. He didn't say that. But Dignum did take on Janibek for the vacant 160-pound title, okay? On Saturday, he got blasted out of there in 2 rounds. Are you sold on Janibek, Kenny? Is there a reason? Do you think that he's the reason that Boo Boo left the 160-pound division? I mean, you know, were you convinced by the KO of Tony's boy, Danny Dignum out of Essex?
No, look, Janibek, I felt for a while that Andrade was afraid of Janibek. How many people have backed out of a fight with Janibek? There's reasons for that, you know. The guy is he looks promising, so. But does the Dignum fight do anything for me? Whatever. I would have liked to see him against Boo Boo. I would like to have seen him against Boo Boo, right? That would have told us everything we need to see, both about Boo Boo and about Janibek.
Did he pass the KO Kenny eye test?
I don't know. I had quite a few beers. I'd have to go back and watch again and tell you if he passed the eye test fully. But the eye test, depending on opposition, you know.
Well, honestly, he's already doing what Triple G did, beat up a bunch of dudes nobody heard of. So all of the flowers that Triple G got, y'all better be giving those flowers to Janibek right now, because, I mean, just keep feeding them opponents like Triple G was fed opponents, as far as I'm concerned. And you'll probably continue to see him rise in the rankings and maybe get some respect, Kenny. You know, KT might have to put some spec on his name. You know,
I ain't throwing hate at him either. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand that. I don't think either of us are. You know, I think he's doing his thing, definitely, and I'd like to see him continue. Matter of fact, you know, Kenny, let me. I think we got somebody on the line real quick. Let me just bring that up here. I think we might have somebody on the line. I think we've got Zurdo actually on the line. Here we go. Zurdo Ramirez. Here we go.
I'll drill y'all. Put some respect on my name. Y'all understand me? I ain't got no more talk. I'm pulling up on you, nigga. Put some respect on my name. You already know what it is. Put some respect on my name.
You ready to put some respect on Zurdo's name before we get to the next segment, or no?
No.
Huh?
No.
What about Janibek? You ready to put Janibek? You put some respect on his name, or the Dignum fight didn't do it, right?
Nah. We're gonna have to wait and see. Look. I keep it straightforward all the way through. If I'm gonna expect one guy to fight real opposition, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna expect the other guy to fight real opposition in order to give him the props that he deserves.
Fair enough. So last but not least, there was a card in the afternoon. Took place at the O2 in London. And we can talk about some of the undercard fighters on these cards afterwards, but I want to get to the main event. Joshua Buatsi, trained by Virgil Hunter, taking on Craig Richards for a secondary belt at the 175 division and for a ranking spot with the WBA. Buatsi got the nod. I honestly felt that he did win the fight, but I caught heat for saying this. I felt that there were rounds where Richards outlanded him and definitely outlanded him, but didn't get credit for winning the round. Tony Bellew's card literally was 8-0 after the first 8 rounds of the fight. Kenny, give me your thoughts on that matchup.
Well, I definitely didn't expect it to be fireworks the way that it was. I didn't actually watch the fight live. I saw a replay of the fight. So, the issues with the scorecards and all that, I wasn't really paying attention to it. I was just really watching the fight. But, there was so much action back and forth. There were certain points where Buatsi looked like he was tired or hurt and such, and then he would turn it back up and start throwing these haymakers and landing them on Richards. And Richards, man, that guy has a fucking heart, because there was way more than one time that he was buzzed and looked like he was about to get the chicken legs. And no, bro, he came back strong. He came back with skill. He didn't come back in a way where, oh, let me just throw the whole gas tank out. He would, hop around a little bit, start moving around a little bit, start throwing the jab to get away until he got a couple seconds to recover, and then he would go right back into the heat. Very impressive from Richards, but even more impressive from Buatsi. Buatsi came in there with the heat from the first round. He was just going in there whooping ass, bro. And even when he was getting tagged, there was a couple moments that his defense lacked. I'm not gonna lie. Even when he was getting tagged, he would still come back with some power punches to counter what Richards was doing to him and counter him very nicely at some points. But he definitely had some defensive laps where he would just kind of like leave his head out there and kind of turn his cheek or like put the glove up and turn and still take the full impact of the punch. Those are little defensive lapses. You're taking hits and punches that you don't need to take for any reason. Move out the way. He could have just easily moved out of the way of those punches. But yeah, let me pass it on over to you. Let me hear these.
I agree. To me, the biggest concern is I think that he's taking a lot of shots that he doesn't really need to take. I think one thing that he's been able to master is that kind of Virgil Hunter, kind of strong, I wouldn't call it dirty boxing, but like rough and rugged boxing on the inside that Andre Ward used to do. I felt that he definitely won those exchanges on the inside, but I also felt that he was getting credit for doing things that he wasn't necessarily doing. For instance, Craig Richards was rolling with shots and not really catching them clean. But I was talking about this on the Undefeated podcast, Kenny, and I mentioned your name because you've said it for years that, like, if you got long hair, you need to braid it up or wrap it up or do something, because just the mere fact of you're moving your head when a guy's throwing a punch makes it look like the other guy's doing way more damage than he's actually doing, And I do think Buatsi won the fight. I just don't think that Craig Richards got as much credit as he should have. It definitely not from Tony Bellew, who was scoring the fight for the Zone. And I also feel that the Buatsi we saw Saturday, because honestly, I expect him to be a little bit faster with his feet in terms of getting in and getting out, right? And I expect him to be able to kind of read offensive shots from his opponent a little bit better and not necessarily get caught, very much like you said he got caught. I saw the same thing. And when you think about guys like Joe Smith, that's a problem. Yeah. When you think about Better Beeve, that's a big problem, okay? And when you think about a guy like Bivol, mega problem, all right? And those are the champions at 175. So, adjustments are clearly going to have to be made. I mean, he might be the type of fighter that as the opposition rises, so does his output and his abilities and his skill set, get onto the display. But the guy that just went 12 rounds, and like I said, I don't think Richards got nearly enough credit. I agree. There's a big gap to make between the performance Saturday night and a win against a Joe Smith Jr., a Better Beeve, or Bivol. And dare I say, you know, again, I'm going to ask you about this. We're going to see if you
Respect on my name. Put some respect on my name.
I mean, how was Buatsi do against Zurdo, Kenny?
Well, we're going to have to see because Zurdo also gets hit a lot, and Buatsi definitely showed that he has a hell of a lot of power. But besides that power, one thing I did notice that he did that I also didn't like before I go to the Zurdo thing is that he was letting off these nice combinations, right? And then he would start like hitting gloves, and he would still let the combinations go where he would start hitting gloves and body, right? And then he would move back and be gassed out, and then he would let his arms down, and then Richards would start teeing off with the jab and throwing those long looping straight weird punches, but he was landing them nicely. But I just have to say that I think Buatsi, his issues were all in two things. One, trying to knock the dude out, fall in love with that power, and two, the defensive lapses. But here we go. Respect on his name, huh? No, we're not putting no respect on Zurdo's name.
So Buatsi beat Zurdo. That's what Kenny's saying right now at this moment.
No. What Kenny's saying right now is that's a great match to see. Right now, I'd have that fight at 50-50 because Zurdo gets hit a hell of a lot too. And what power we know Zurdo to have? The power that knocked out a gassed out Unieski like 3 rounds too late.
Put some respect on his name, Kenny.
I'm gonna put some salt and pepper on his name.
He just knocked out the #1 ranked WBA light heavyweight with a body shot. Right after his trainer called for it, he knocked that dude Dominic Bozil right out, bro. Come on, put some respect on his name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so look, I gotta disagree with Tony's take on this Zurdo getting smoked. I'm not seeing that. At worst, I think it's a really rough and rugged back and forth fight for Zurdo that maybe he loses on the scorecards. But given the seasoning, given the fact that Zurdo's approaching 50 fights in the professional ranks,
50 truck drivers, damn.
Come on, bro, put some respect on his name, dog. Don't make me go through the list of accolades. Okay? I gotta give the nod to Zurdo. But let me ask Tony in the chat this. I'm going to throw out names if anyone thinks that Joshua Buatsi right now, because he's calling for a title shot, does he beat Bivol? Does he beat Zurdo? Does he beat Joe Smith? Does he beat Better Beeve? If any of those names are beatable opponents for Buatsi, let us know in the chat. All right? And Skyliners.
What I saw, I'm going to say no, bro.
No, I don't think Skyliner is asking who are the best top 3 light heavyweights stateside. I mean, I think it's obvious who the top 3 light heavyweights in the world are. I got Better Beeve #1. I got Bivol #2. And #3, that's where Kenny and me disagree. He's got Joe Smith Jr. and I've got Zurdo Ramirez. Is that accurate, Kenny? What I just went over?
Yep, that's accurate.
Right?
That's accurate.
Those are the top 3 right there. Now, the question is, I mean, we can ask the chat this too. Is Joshua Buatsi a top 5 light heavyweight in the world? Is he a top 5 light heavyweight? Because I've thrown out 4 names over there. Is he right behind them at number 5? So I'll let the chat look at that as well. And, you know, we'll see what they have to say about it. Any last words, Kenny, about this Saturday night's main events? Or is there anyone you'd like to highlight maybe on an undercard?
No, I didn't even get to watch the undercard. The main event was it for me. But yeah, no. I'm looking at the box rec of Joshua Buatsi right now, and I don't put him in top 5, bro.
Yeah, I don't have him as a top 5 light heavyweight either, personally.
Not at all.
I know that might affect the sentiments of some of our followers here and subscribers to this channel, but
it's all friendly talk.
Absolutely, it is what it is. So Kenny, yeah, I mean, look, Tiger Johnson looked good on the ESPN undercard, and there was the undercard and the Showtime was whatever. You know, I don't really think there was much to report back on that one, honestly, other than the Cuban fighter that was on there that looked pretty good, but his opponent was just a little bit past it. So Uncle Jonah says Buatsi's a top 6. Callum Smith had how many fights at light heavyweight? Yeah, he had 1 fight. But I still have him ranked higher than Buatsi at light heavyweight just because of what he did to Lenin Castillo, Kenny's compatriot, him being out of the DR. So, Kenny, I got something real quick. We're going to just quickly pivot from boxing real quick, and then I'm going to drop a link in case anybody wants to join us. But we're going to do our first Kenny Reacts, okay? And it came across this particular thing on Twitter, okay? And Kenny, have you ever been to the airport and, you know, you trying to check in some luggage and maybe they're telling you it's like a little too heavy or something, and, you know, you're going back and forth with the person doing the check-in, or, you know, have you ever had any kind of incidents with any kind of customer service people at an airport?
Oh, of course. You cannot go to the airport and not have some type of incident. No matter what you're there for, you're gonna deal with something at the airport.
I agree. I mean, I've had discussions with other people who've experienced the same thing as me, where, you know, you're there taking out, you know, all kind of items from your luggage because it's slightly overweight, or they want to charge you all kind of extra money. So this happened at an airport here, and things clearly went sideways, Kenny. I want you to have a quick look at this and then give me a good Kenny Reacts. Here we go.
There we go. He deserved that. Yeah. Yeah. He deserved that. Look, go to sleep. He deserved that. Now it's time to go, bro. It's over for that flight. Oh, there's more? He wants more?
Well, now the manager's coming to say, no, he don't need no more. You already knocked him out. He don't need no more. That's enough. So, look, my whole thing is, at the end of the day, Kenny, if you're, you know, having a disagreement, and yeah, it's getting a little heated verbally, but then the customer agent puts his hands on you. I mean, does KO Kenny do anything other than what that guy just did? Because I tell you right now, Maestro's having the exact same reaction. Go for it, Kenny.
Oh, it's a wrap. I'm gonna give him the same treatment. Just, you see, he rocked him with the first one. He kind of pushed him with the second one. Nah, I'm gonna make sure I catch him clean with both. So it's like clock, clock. Because when he goes down, I don't want him to stumble back up and come fuck with me again. It's a wrap. I'm trying to finish it. And then I'm gonna put my hands up. I didn't do nothing. Self-defense. You know how it goes.
What's interesting with me with that too, honestly, is that the guy almost ended up flatlined on the belt system.
He was about to be carried like a luggage, bro.
Well, you saw that too, right? He almost got carried by the luggage. It's crazy. So,
actually, there is one thing I do want to mention about this past weekend. Jamel Herring, man. Yeah, I think maybe
Jamel Herring retiring. That's a good one.
Yeah. I think it's time for him to hang those up, man. Yeah. It's definitely if he keeps fighting, he's gonna continue taking challenging fights, and he's gonna continue losing and continue getting that scar tissue all fucked up, and it just, he got heart, but it's time to hang him up. You know, there's still stuff to do for him in boxing. He speaks pretty well. He could probably do the commentating thing, you know, I don't know, help train somebody or something, you know.
Yeah, 100%. And look, he came to the realization, if you're going to lose to essentially a prospect, right, as a former world champion, I mean, the dude that he lost to was a prospect, let's be honest, not necessarily a contender. If you can't beat that guy, it's definitely time to retire from the sport. Now, does his recent loss take away at all in your eyes, Kenny, from Shakur Stevenson's win over him, or is it just is what it is?
I mean, I had people talking shit back some time ago to me because I called Shakur a prospect even after the Jamel Herring fight. Oh, but he's a two-time world champion. It was so that people were talking mad trash to me, telling me I didn't know anything about boxing. But that I felt that way from beforehand. Jamel Jamel Herring just doesn't seem like the same Jamel Herring that he is, and I am going to say that it does take away from the Shakur Stevenson win because I didn't think it was that great of a win when he won that fight. I was talking smack back then, and people was talking shit to me like I don't know nothing about boxing. It is what it is. I stick to my guns. Tell me I don't know shit now.
Well, I think it does actually. I mean, you do kind of have to look at that performance because he got a lot of credit for it. Yes, he went up and he got another title belt, the WBO title. But Herring had come off of a win against a guy whose best days are at 122 in Carl Frampton, and then faced off against Shakur. One thing I will say, though, in Shakur's defense is that at least he followed up that win against Herring with an impressive win against Valdez, who, people can argue he isn't a natural 130, but he was still a top dog in the division for sure.
That was a great win. Can't take nothing away from him from that win, from him moving forward. It was just before that, Got to give him his credit now.
So this Saturday here, Kenny, live in New York City, right, we have none other than Gervonta Tank Davis taking on Rolly Romero. Scale of 1 to 10, how interested are you in this fight?
Definitely more interested than I was in the fights for this past weekend.
Wow. So is that an 8, 9, 9.5, 10?
We ain't gonna go that high, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna give it like a 7 or an 8, man. All this trash talk, all this back and forth, it's got me into it. It's happening in New York too. I could potentially go to the fight. We see how those last minute ticket sales go. You know what I'm saying? If they start plummeting, you already know you may catch me there. But yeah, it's the trash talk is what has me into it. Of course, Gervonta Davis is most likely gonna win this fight. But that awkward and punching and the aggression and the power, the weird angles, either one of them could get tagged with a very powerful punch and go down. This fight is definitely going to end by knockout. We all love fights that end by knockout. Yeah, I'm definitely excited. I'm going to give this like a 7 or an 8, although I know the potential outcome, but just seeing power punches fly and land and people get hurt, for me, that's a large part of boxing, and I'm excited for that.
Interesting to me, Kenny, is still the question that keeps coming up. Is Tank Davis a star, right? And I said I was going to talk about his star potential. Kennebai Foreman has brought it up over here. Y'all going? I'm going to try to go. I asked to get credential. I'm still waiting to hear back, so who knows about that one. But I'm definitely going to go to the weigh-in on Friday, and I've got an idea to shoot some footage and do another segment of the People's Republic of Boxing in downtown Brooklyn around the Barclays and just interview people live from the streets about what they think about this fight. It's like a multi-layered question because is he a star in boxing? I'd have to say yes. Is he a crossover star like Mayweather that's like gone into other kind of pop culture and that other people know about? I'd honestly have to say yes. Not a huge star, but yes. And I know that because my wife is on, social media, and I can kind of gauge the general public's knowledge of a fighter based on if she heard about him. And people do talk about him on Instagram, and his, stories go there and people hear about who he is. But also interesting to me, Kenny, is this can't be denied. They dropped the episode of All Access yesterday, right? And I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm going to try to zoom in on my screen over here. But look at that number. It's already done almost 1 million views in a day. Not a lot of fighters in boxing can do that. Whether we or not, we want to keep it real. That's the real deal-ish right there. Like, there aren't many other fighters that you can do a video on, and in one day they're doing almost 1 million views on that video. And they just did that with this All Access. Now, will that transfer over into big time pay-per-view sales?
What are they saying? This is on pay-per-view?
Yes, it is.
Oh my God. At what price?
Let's do that in real time. I'm going to look it up right now.
I had no idea this was on pay-per-view, bro.
Yeah, it's a pay-per-view fight. It's not taking place on regular Showtime. It's taking place on Showtime Showtime pay-per-view. I'm gonna go to it right now. We'll do this in real time right here, live on Mano a Mano, so everybody could check it out. I'm on the website right here, and I'm gonna go to order Showtime pay-per-view, and the cost is $74.99, Kenny.
Oh my God.
All right. So
the trash talk's been good, but damn, not that good. Not $74.99 good.
Right. So does the nearly 1 million views, 854,000 views in like a day, transfer over into pay-per-view sales, Kenny, when the price tag is pretty much $75? Yes or no? Are people going to buy this fight?
I'll tell you what, a lot of people are going to watch this fight, but are they going to buy it? There's going to be a hell of a lot of fight parties, and there's going to be a hell of a lot of people streaming. I tell you, because $74.99, yeah, Tank is a star. Is he a star? Is he that crazy of a star that you could match him up against somebody that everybody believes he's going to beat and still sell a $74.99 pay-per-view? Well, do people want to see Tank beat somebody up that bad? You know, that they're going to pay $74.99 to see him beat somebody up? Or is it the Mayweather syndrome thing where, people think that Riley has a chance to knock him out and they don't like Davis and they want to see him get knocked out or something along those lines? Well, I don't see people paying.
Well, it's a tough sale, man, because look, and this was also my question, that I titled this kind of episode, are these guys the best of the rest? Because that's kind of like how they're being promoted. I'm talking about the Benavidez, and I'm talking about obviously Tank Davis, right? Because we've got who people mostly consider to be the best in these weight classes. At 168, I think it's pretty unanimous that Canelo's the best. People can dispute that, whatever. He's got all the belts at 168, and he's got to be considered top dog there. But is Benavidez best of the rest at 168? That's an open question, right? At 135, we've got Gambosis and Haney holding all of the belts. They're going to be fighting each other. Is Tank Davis best of the rest? I mean, because we've also got other fighters in these divisions as well. I think that's unclear at both 168 and 135 who the next best fighters are. Tank Davis is not making a case for that by fighting Rolly. Beating Rolly does not establish himself as the number 2 in the lightweight division. And honestly, fighting Rolly after fighting Pitbull, after fighting Barrios, after fighting Gamboa, I mean, what does that tell you, Kenny, about his status as a 135-pound fighter?
Doesn't tell me anything. I don't see anything from it. Doesn't show me any growth from where he once was, where he could have potentially been a star, and then they started putting him against. I mean, he is a star in the pay-per-view type of and the people knowing him caliber type of situation, but he's not a star in the sport of boxing. He's not or he hasn't proven that he is that skilled guy in the sport of boxing because of the opposition that he's facing. It just is what it is. So the opposition he's facing hasn't shown me anything. It does not build the case for him against Kambosos and Haney or even Teofimo. You know, it doesn't build the case against these guys who are actually fighting each other and risking a loss and going for the belts and willing to be great, not just hiding behind the money wall and PBC and Al Heyman.
Well, what's interesting to me, and he did an interview with Brian Custer, Kenny, that I felt was very interesting, actually, and he being Gervonta Davis, where he talked about a number of things. I'm not necessarily going to play the whole thing over here, but this is the video over here, and he talked about his career with Floyd. He talked about the fact that he's leaving Floyd. He's moving on. He's going to be doing other things. I think it's long overdue. He literally said that it's time for the training wheels to come on. And
I love that.
And what I consider to be true is that this kind of fight for a guy with the number of fights that he has and the fact that he's claimed to be a 3-weight world champion, fighting a guy in Rolly who's untested, hopefully he surprises us, but who's untested, I mean, it still kind of has the feeling of a training wheels kind of fight in my eyes, as opposed to Devin Haney, who he called out on that interview. He said that Devin Haney was talking shit pretty much for criticizing the fight, or he's calling out guys like that. I mean, Devin Haney would not be a training wheels fight, right?
No, sir.
Gambosis wouldn't be a training wheels fight, right? Ryan Garcia, maybe that might, I don't know where Ryan Garcia is right now or what he's going to be doing, because his fight with Isaac Cruz fell through. So I don't know what he's going to be doing next. But for me, the number 1 and number 2 in the division are clearly Gambosis and Haney. And that might get reversed based on what happens in Australia. I'm hoping that by leaving Floyd Mayweather, and by no longer having to do with the bow tie and the hats and the $10 million worth of jewelry on, and, the guy who's making sure that he's on camera, giving him last minute advice and making sure that he's getting inside the ropes as the promoter and telling him what he thinks is happening. I think that being off of that system is going to benefit Tank personally. I mean, if you stay with the PBC, why not cut out the middleman? Right? And if you go to someplace else as a free agent, I mean, that works too. Kenny, what do you think about that?
Oh, I think that's a great idea. I'd love to see Tank shut me up and actually do what we've all been expecting him to do since, I think it was Liam Smith, or no, not Smith, I don't know, a fight long ago when he won his first actual belts, before he started chasing these secondary belts. I just hope that he actually does start fighting the fights that we want to see him fight at, both at 130 and 135. Stops the whole clown stuff with the 140. That 140 weight class is not for him. It's like you guys saying that 175 is not for Canelo. I think he still got a shot there, but I don't think that 140 is really for Gervonta Davis. Not if he's going to be fighting real opposition at 140. We saw what happened against small opposition or small competition at 140. We don't want to see Gervonta Davis do that 140. Let's see him at 130, 135, fight the real challenges. Let's see him fight Kambosos. Let's see him fight Haney and whoever else that has a belt, a real belt, not a secondary belt. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, I mean, I got to agree with you. I think what we all want to see is we want to see Tank Davis in more meaningful fights. So he's got to decide, is he a 135 pounder? Is he a 130 pounder? Or is he going to venture back up to 140? I don't see him getting Haney if Haney wins, Kenny, because of the rematch clause with that fight. But if he can still make 130, I mean, Shakur's there, right? If maybe he can get Shakur up to 135, although I know Shakur Stevenson wants to kind of unify and solidify and be undisputed at 130, which is what he should be trying to go after.
Agreed.
You do have a fight taking place in Wales coming up for the WBA title. WBA or IB? Yeah, WBA, I think. So, I mean, he has the WBC and WBO, and it's up to him to go after those IBF and WBA titles that are out there. So, we'll see what happens, but those are fights I'd like to see. I'd like to see him in against the Shakur in an interim. Failing that, I mean, who else is out there for him, Kenny, that you'd be interested in seeing him in there with?
Shit. It's difficult to say right now because there are such few belt holders in those weights, and kind of only want to see him against the belt holders because he's just at that level where he should be fighting for nothing but belts and defending belts. He shouldn't just be fighting pay-per-views to fight. So it's hard to say because at 130, it's 3 champions. And I'm sure he will go against the easier ones. If he was to face Shakur Stevenson would be the last one he would face. He'd probably face Kenichi Ogawa or Roger Gutierrez, right? And like you said, at 135, he's going to have to wait for the champions. But any one of those guys with belts, I would like to see him fight against. I think that's a pay-per-view worthy fight that any of us will be willing to pay for, but not against Riley. Not against Riley. Stop it. By the way, aren't both of them in outrageous shape? Bro, yeah, they look like action figures.
By the way, the All Access that I pointed out, the one that's approaching 1 million views in a day, I mean, that's got me like looking forward to the fight. I don't know if it would have me wanting to spend $75. I mean, I buy everything if I don't go to the fights. So I don't know if it's going to have an impact on other people. But I mean, it was good content. Like, you know, and that's just the first episode. I'm looking forward to seeing more of those episodes, you know. Tank Davis looks ripped and ready, as people like to say, use that term. Rolly looks like he's motivated and in shape. He doesn't look like he's intimidated by Tank Davis at all, by the way.
Which is good. He needs that.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a guy that believes in himself, and that's definitely what he needs. His defense, though, isn't always the tightest. We've seen him in there in close fights, including one that a lot of people thought that he lost against Jackson Ramirez, I think is who it was. And we'll see how he does in this fight. I mean, the question really is going to be, can he take Tank's power? He seems to believe that he's got a lot more power than Isaac Cruz and Tank combined, as he put it. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, look, I think it's going to be an exciting fight for sure. I just think that the $75 price tag on this, Kenny, is a little bit high. It's asking fans a lot to pay $75 to see this fight.
I agree. The only thing that I do have to say that will have the numbers be a little higher than what it would be if it would be any other person, exactly what you said earlier, the star power that he does have. Because just like you said, like when your girlfriend mentions somebody like a boxer that you know that this person's popular, the same thing with my brother and my friends. I'm like, just like you probably are. I'm like the boxing guy out of my friends and my people, and they'll, yo, so you watching the Gervonta Davis fight this weekend? Let me know. I'll come through.
You're hearing that, right?
Yeah, and it's like, let you know. You can. Now I see the price. I'm gonna let them know. No.
Let them know that they're gonna have to chip in on that money if they wanna watch it. You know,
$75. That's a hell of a lot of money. But
I wonder how much seats are going for. But go ahead.
I was gonna say, what do you have? Or not? What do you have? How do you have this fight going? Is there any chance that this will be a 12-round fight and that these guys both play it safe, or is this definitely knockout? Davis knockout or Rolly knockout? What rounds? Talk to me. What we got going? What you got going?
I mean, I think if you're gonna bet on this fight, that you don't want to bet on the distance in this. I think both guys see themselves as power punchers. Both guys will be going for the KO. Both guys have been talking so much that they're really gonna want to back it up. They do have that disposition. The reason Tank was kind of very defensive in that last fight, I mean, he admitted it. I mean, he said he hurt his hand really badly, and he was like hesitant to throw it because of the pain. And you could see him, wincing and grimacing. And it's tough to throw shots when you're in pain. But for the most part, he does try to go for the KO. He is very offensive, and Rolly takes a lot of risks in his fights. He really opens himself defensively to land big shots offensively. So I think it's going to be that kind of a fight that ends in knockout, which is why I think it's going to be very interesting. Kenny, I'm going to share this since I've been sharing my screen, this thing. We've got the cheapest tickets available on ticketnetwork.com starting at $92 to sit way up in these sections, like way up here. As a fight fan living in New York City, are you going to be paying, actually it's interesting. They didn't even open up the upper deck. This is just the second bowl. So they're not even opening up the entire Barclays by the look of it, because this is only the 100 and 200 section. The 300 section ain't even available. Are you paying $92? You're just going to watch it at home?
Oh, I'd watch it at home. I'm not sitting at the top, man.
Yeah,
I sit somewhere in the middle or towards the front. I'm not sitting at the top, man. Not for $94. Those are the type of seats that schools be giving out for free. Like, hey, here, bring all 30 of your kids. Here, free tickets.
Yeah, and I also think that the fact that they haven't opened up the upper bowl speaks to the fact that they don't believe that this can actually sell out. So actually, Karma, these are not nosebleeds, because I don't think that they've opened the upper bowl here. This is like the second bowl. Usually the upper bowl is the 300 section. So I'm pretty sure Barclays is the same. So 92, these are the floor seats down here. This is the lower bowl over here in purple. And then you've got the upper bowl here in like the middle upper bowl in 2. I think that there's a bowl on top of that, but it's been a while since I've been to the Barclays. So no soft spot says he's going to the fight. But yeah, Karma Serene, those are expensive tickets either way for sure. And if I can't get credentialed to the fight, Kenny, I'm probably just going to watch it at home as well. I mean, it's much better to watch a fight at home, I think, than to watch it in an upper deck situation at an arena. Because typically when you're in an upper deck situation or far from the action at an arena, you're watching the screen anyway. So, and you're paying extra for your beers and your food. And yeah, you're there for the fight atmosphere and there's people around. But I mean, the best place to watch a boxing fight, honestly, is usually your living room with a big flat screen TV, in my opinion, unless you're literally sitting floor level at a fight.
Yeah, floor level, near the front, man. That nothing compares to that. But nah, yeah, you're right. The TV is where I will be watching this fight most likely, because if 98, 94, if that's what they have the upper, I wonder what they have the seats at the bottom. And I'm not really trying to go spend big bread. I just spent big bread on releasing my music. So nah, man.
Well, the seats at the bottom down here, you can see are in the $600 range, $1,000 range, $800 range. It's and that's not even the floor seats. That's lower bowl. I mean, that's a lot of like we've sat lower bowl for Terrence Crawford fights at the Garden, and it was nowhere near as expensive as this. Sitting lower bowl, right?
This
so
is crazy.
900, 1,000. These are big prices to sit in a lower bowl for a fight. That's really not even for a legit world title. So, it's interesting to me that they've cut off the area that would typically be the very, very cheap seats. But look, we see the comments here. Team Batman says, if I was in New York, I would 100% be at that fight, though bet heavy on Tank and get a free ticket. I mean, that's one way to look at it. I've said it for years that if I was a millionaire, I'd just be literally laying 5 and 6 figure bets on A-side favorites in boxing, and you're likely going to win like 90% of the time.
And the one time that you lose all your games.
I guess that's one way of looking at it. Yeah, but I mean, that's not part. Yes, Cannabis. Kenny's got an album. Make sure you go check that out. All on the table. It's on all of your regular streaming platforms and all of that good stuff. So I think that's it, Kenny. We had a pretty good week of boxing, a good weekend of boxing. Last weekend, we've got a decent week of boxing coming up. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add. Let everybody know about the show, No Cap Boxing Recap. I'm sure you're going to go into depth about a lot of things on there, right, Kenny?
You already know. Coming this Wednesday, every Wednesday, 5 p.m., unless I miss, which I'll let you guys know on Twitter beforehand. But No Cap Boxing, where we will be discussing what's coming up in this weekend and going into detail with a lot of what already happened. Also, before we do get out of here, let me just say one more time, All on the Table by KO Kenny on all streaming platforms. Go check that out. Show me some love. Thank you.
100%. And for those who missed it earlier, I had a good time watching this, and I asked Kenny to react to it. We're going to look at it one last time as a quick recap here. Again, this came through on Twitter for me. Check it out and let me know what y'all think you would have done. I mean, that was the part for me there. I mean, the only thing missing from that, Kenny, honestly, would have been him riding away on that conveyor belt. That's about it.
That would have been amazing, but it didn't happen. He deserved everything he got. It is what it is, though.
Oh, go ahead. No, I'm seeing. Go ahead, Kenny.
We did it twice in a row. That's comedy. Nah, I was just thinking about the following weekend, Kambosos and Haney, but we got a lot to talk about that when that comes up.
100%. Look, I don't want to leave my brother Tony Pugilist boy without an answer to his questions. He says, what? No Babbage? Look, Babbage, Alan the Savage Babbage, Eddie Hearns moved him from a heavyweight prospect to a bridgerweight prospect. He got dropped in I think it was the first round against the Polish guy Balski. I've said it from the beginning. I think Babbage should probably be fighting as a cruiserweight, not as a heavyweight, and I would dare I say not as a bridgerweight either. Although I think there's probably a lot less competition at bridgerweight at this point than at cruiserweight. But the moment this guy faces a guy who can punch and who's a good boxer, I think it's based on what I've been seeing, it's going to be tough for him because a lot of these guys that clip him are like guys that are honestly there not really to win. And the guy Balski was definitely trying to win, but he didn't have the punch resistance or the power to deal with a guy who, moves forward a lot, but who's literally wide open. So, the matchmaking is going to have to be on point, I think, Tony. And, they're going to have to be very cautious about how they move Alan the Savage Babbage because he is exciting, but he's also very vulnerable. Kenny, what are your thoughts on Alan Babbage? Do you have any thoughts on him?
No, I didn't even watch the fight with him. No thoughts, nothing to say about him. No interest. I didn't watch the fight. It's been a hell of a couple weeks for me.
There you go.
I'm back.
Well, Team Batman said he showed a lot of heart after recovering after that shot after the bell. That's true. He did. Actually, was it after the bell? I thought it was right on the bell, personally. I didn't think it was like egregiously after the bell. I felt it was right on the bell, Team Batman. And you also say that Babbage, always an exciting fight, obviously can only go to a certain level, but Rivas also looked terrible in his last fight against that Canadian guy. Very true. Very true. And I'll leave this as the last one here. Skyliner Schumel, I think you're in the UK, given that you got the pound sterling sign there. He says, we complain when Eddie charges $25 for pay-per-view. LOL, Brits are spoiled. Yeah, I mean, $75, yo, that's like 60 and change in pounds, I think, to watch Tank Davis take on Rolly. So there you go. Thank you very much. Another edition of Mano a Mano. Thank you for joining me and Kenny T. Make sure you check out The Real KO Kenny. All right. Knocked Out by Kenny is the channel. Make sure you check that out. We're out of here. Have a great day and good weekend of fights this weekend. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. You guys take care.
Hey, nigga, peep though. If you SBA pay, you call me Young Repo, Old Debo. You can rapidly move your feet, so. But nigga, what's graphics to a cheat code? You know that Garrett's ain't for the hood. Turn your cheetah into Cheetos. Flaming, nigga think he banging. I make you take your chain out of places you should tuck your chain in. But Lou, you can get it back if you pay him. I make you Smith a will if you ever think about Jaden. Quit the parading, lighten up like Raiden. Act your age, stop acting like you Asian. Talking like a shaman, make this trip short like a ride around the Caymans. All that shit you saying, this nigga acting like he was balling out in Chrome Hearts. Came out with a bag smaller than some phone parts. Fuck out of here.